The Declaration of Independence. Throughout the 1760s and 1770s, U.S. colonists became increasingly upset by many issues, some of which included heavy taxes that the British government began collecting from colonists. In turn, the colonists presented the Declaration of Independence to the British government on July 4, 1776, and the American Revolution began. The principles on which the Declaration of Independence and other founding documents were based were formed during the Enlightenment. Also known as the Age of Reason, the Enlightenment was a historical and philosophical period that lasted from the late 1600s until the 18th century. The documents were based on humanism, meaning they were driven by reason and order, secular, non-religious ideas, and the toleration of differences. The ideals of the Enlightenment led people all over the globe to reform their governments and societies. In contrast to the monarchies and feudal systems that ruled much of Europe before this. During the Enlightenment, people demanded freedom, equality, free trade, and order from their leaders, choosing to think as individuals rather than simply accept the world through the eyes of organized religious leaders. Fueled by these ideals, representatives from the British government and representatives from the colonies met to sign the Treaty of Paris, which ended the American Revolution in 1783. Next, the colonists needed to determine how to govern their new country. The Declaration of Independence drew particular inspiration from the ideal of popular sovereignty. This was the idea that a government derived its power from the consent of the people alone. And therefore the people agreed that the government was the supreme law, in contrast to divine or religious law. This agreement is called the social contract. Popular sovereignty and the social contract inspired new nations around the world. In the United States, these ideas coalesced in republicanism, the founding principle of the United States government. Republicanism refers to a society where people exercise popular sovereignty. In other words, they rule. This ideal even became the name of one of the two major parties in United States politics, Republicans. Currently, the other major political party is the Democrats. Democracy is the idea that government is ruled by the people. The United States is a representative democracy, also called a republic. This means the people elect representatives to voice their opinions. Articles of Confederation first. You might be wondering, who governed the colonies during the American Revolution? A group of people called the Continental Congress met from 1774 to 1789. Their major work, apart from adopting the Declaration of Independence, was to draft the Articles of Confederation, 1777. The Articles of Confederation was a precursor to the U.S. Constitution. It created a group of 13 sovereign states, the former British colonies, that were ruled by a central government. Remember that the Continental Congress met both before and during the American Revolution. Initially, Britain did not accept that the U.S. was a distinct nation. The colonists recognized their rights and declared themselves independent first. But where did these rights come from? Ironically, the idea actually came from Britain itself. John Locke, a British philosopher, had a huge impact on the colonists' fight for independence. Locke recognized that all people have natural rights that give them the power to select their government through the social contract. All humans, Locke believed, possess these natural rights: life, liberty, and property.